We have 3 people as a quorum.
Hey, how are you?
These are really good.
I know. Oh, I said. Sorry, Paul. Here you bring it.
Okay, Mr. Villanova, would you lead us, Deputy Supervisor Villanova, would you lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage, grant us the wisdom to make our every decision fair-minded and in the best interest for all its residents. I'd like to ask everyone to please remain standing for the families from Newtown, Connecticut. Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to make a presentation on the budget. If the public is happy for me to do it, I'll go ahead and go through that presentation first, and then we'll hear from the public, if that's okay. Or, Mr. Town Attorney, there's no problem with that, right?
Well,
We'll hear from the public.
First you'd hear from the public.
Okay, all right, perfect.
By the way, you can then you can close the hearing, then you can make a presentation.
Okay, perfect. Terrific. So, comments from the public on the budget, this year's budget? This is the public hearing. Yep.
Joe, can you take one and pass?
Yep, thank you.
Just the budget.
This is, right now, Goldie's just on the budget. This is the public hearing on the budget.
Okay.
Yes, in addition, yeah.
Okay, one of the problems that I have is abolishing positions. You have a resolution abolishing positions. We need everybody to take care of us. As citizens and taxpayers, we need health, welfare, and safety. So I'm not sure what you're doing here in abolishing positions, and I think you have to tell me about that. You know that Portchester is the poorest village in Westchester County. We have more off the tax rolls than any other village our size, and we are struggling right now to pay our taxes. There is a big problem here, but it says abolishing positions, and that I'm not happy with because most of these people are saviors on the earth, and they help us wherever we need help. So it depends who we're abolishing and why. If it's just for the budget, that's not going to help the taxpayer and citizen. That's not going to help. Portchester is fighting right now, about group homes. We have 12 group homes, and last night I was at a meeting, and it was jammed and mobbed because they wanted to put another group home on a lot of property there, which also comes off the tax rolls. That would make us 13 off the tax rolls. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It only raises our taxes more. So, right now, abolishing positions, I've got to know what you're doing because we need people to help us. We need our saviors, and there are a lot of people that help us in different areas of our town as well as Portchester, and I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm not happy with abolishing positions, I can tell you right now. You got to find another way to support your budget, but not by taking away people's jobs. And then what's going to happen if you take away people's jobs and they can't pay their bills, or they can't pay their rent or anything like that? Something is wrong. They're going to be in trouble. So think about it, what you're going to do to hurt these people and hurt the taxpayer.
Thank you for your comments, Goldie. Other comments from the public?
Sorry.
Tom Survey, Rybrook. Excuse me for a minute, I left my glasses.
Sure, no problem.
I have a question here on the budget on page 16. It says park attendant, $49,827. Can you explain to me who that is? And then underneath that, it says park attendant again, $38,484. That's on page 15.
We'll just get the budget. Well, you can see they've been zeroed out. If you look to the right-hand column all the way to the end, there's no monies out. Like those are three of the positions that we eliminated. So ultimately, if you look all the way to the right, Mr. Survey, you'll see 000. It should certainly say 000.
No, it says
He probably doesn't have the
I apologize. Could you give Mr. Survey a more up-to-date budget? I apologize, Mr. Survey.
okay. Then I have also another question.
Sure.
It says landscape contractor. It says 30,000 here. Is that for one park or is that for also the beach?
One park.
It's one park, yeah.
That's just Crawford Park.
And what about the beach? How much does he get to do the beach?
About the same, 31,000.
Well, it's not listed in here.
Well, remember the Rye-Town Park is done differently. If you look, you want to see the impact on Rye-Town Park. What we put into this budget, Mr. Survey, is the anticipated loss at the park. So I think it's $40,000 we've anticipated for the loss of the park this year. Our share, town share. So that would assume an approximately $80,000 loss at the park. I'm happy to say we're hoping to come in under that this year. But what's projected for next year's budget is just the loss, and that's a whole separate accounting. And we're happy to share that accounting with you, but that's a different budget.
Oh, okay. And do you plan to keep the people that are currently working down the beach now for 2013?
Well, we basically, the way it works is we let our towns, first of all, we'll talk about this some more. Obviously, we made a very, very difficult decision. Let's actually 7 full-time people go in the town. 3 of those were parks personnel. And so the primary impetus for that decision was town issues in Crawford Park. Obviously, we share the Crawford Park personnel with Rye-Town Park, so we're having to replace those people at Rye-Town Park. We won't have any full-time employees at Rye-Town Park. We will basically look to satisfy the maintenance needs of Rye-Town Park by increasing part-time, basically, personnel.
Okay. Well, in other words, so basically you're going to keep the people that are working there now.
No, well, I have to talk to them about keep the people. Again, Rye-Town Park, as you know, in terms of maintaining the park, what we anticipate doing is increasing the part-time personnel and then having some of the existing staff take on some of the facilities management function. I think that's, Bishop, is our strategy, correct? Yeah.
Because my figures here, if you're going to keep the people that are there currently now, the five people that are working there now, that's going to cost $80,000. The landscape is going to cost $63,000.
Are you talking Rye-Town Park now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a whole separate budget. That's none of the information's here. We will discuss the Rye-Town Park budget at a Rye-Town Park meeting. We've never ever discussed the Rye-Town Park budget here at the town. I'm perfectly happy to give you the information. We'll be providing a draft budget for Rye-Town Park on June 16th. So I could, January 15th. So I could tell you conceptually how we're intending to pick up the slack. But in terms of looking at actual numbers, you'll have to wait till January 15th.
Oh, so in other words, I have to come back then, right?
Yes. For Right-Town Park, yes.
Okay. Well, I just would...
Mr. Servi, Joe will share that with you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to make a little comment on how those 4 employees were terminated.
3, you mean the 3 parks employees?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was my understanding that they were called in the office with Bishop and Paul Noto, and they were told that starting today, you don't have no more jobs. Your job was eliminated, and you don't have to come back to work. I think that was very unprofessional, the way it was done. And you had 3 people that have almost 50 years of work, dedicated work, working for the town, and I don't think it was done properly. It was very amateurish, and that's, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it was done right. They were treated very wrongly, and I just like to let the people know about it. And I think by going through all these contractors, you're not going to save any money. That's my own personal opinion, because contractors don't come into towns and worry about towns giving them service. Once they get their foot in the door, it's X amount of dollars, and then the next year it's going to be higher. They never lower the price. As Bishop said, we're going to try to get the contractors next year to lower the prices. That never does happen. In the course of many dealings with contractors, they're not looking out for the town. They're looking out to put money in their pockets. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Servi. I can tell you no one on this board wanted to let anybody go. I'll make a presentation a little bit later on in terms of the fiscal and financial reasons we did it. In terms of the way we did it, as you can appreciate, it's always a difficult task to let somebody go. It's always an uncertain situation. I'll let the town attorney comment in a second. But ultimately, it was budgetary rather than personnel. I will remind yourself and the people at home, we've been here 5 years. And we haven't let one full-time employee go in 5 years. We changed a lot of things from the previous administration, but not one full-time personnel. Not one full-time person was changed or let go up until this year, and I'll explain the reasons why shortly. It gives no one any great pleasure to let people go. I couldn't agree with you more. They were hard-working people, and it was budgetary rather than individual-related. And then in terms of your second comment, look, we're very hopeful we'll achieve savings. We think that we're going to have to work very hard to do that. Obviously, the jury's still out. We're going to have to demonstrate that we can provide the same level of service and generate savings. And, we'll please, you monitor us and everybody else monitor us next year, and hopefully we'll achieve that. I don't know, Town Attorney Noda, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I disagree with Mr. Servi's interpretation. We handled it with professionalism and sensitivity. As those of you who have worked in the corporate world know, that when an employee is terminated, generally they are escorted out of the office by a police officer. That's not what took place at all. We explained to them that their jobs were being eliminated as of January 1st. They would be paid in full with benefits and accrued sick time and vacation time through December 31st. That because of that, there was no need for them to return to work, and that we explained to them specifically for them not to take any vacation that had been planned between that day and the end of the year, because they would lose that accrued vacation time. So in keeping with that procedure, they were advised that at best that they not return. There was no need for them to return, and obviously any equipment or any keys and town equipment they had was to be returned. That is the way it is done in every company in the country and every municipality, and I think they were understanding of it. It was a very difficult time for everybody, but I think that they appreciated how it was done. And I didn't hear from them that they were in any way uncomfortable with the meeting or with the tone that I or Bishop took. So I'm not sure who told you that. I'm going to assume it wasn't one of the three that was in the room.
Well, you're wrong.
I was in the room.
You're wrong.
Well, I may be wrong, but I was in the room.
Not one of them. It was the whole three of them that called me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Because
great that they called you.
they're very good friends of mine.
All right, I'm sure.
And I happen to disagree with what you're saying. It doesn't happen that way. And it does. I don't know about the corporate world, because I never worked in the corporate world. I always worked for a municipality, but I don't know how that works. But I don't think it's proper to call in people that have been here for 50 years. You call them in the office and you tell them tomorrow you're finished. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that.
Thank you, Mr. Servi, for your comments. Other comments from the public? Okay, one more chance for comments from the public. Okay, if I don't get any more comments, what, do we vote first, or we
vote to close the hearing?
Vote to close the hearing. So can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so do we now open the...
Now you're in the regular meeting.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do we have to formally...
No, because you took the... I hope you can take attendance, I guess, again, right? Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to formally reopen the meeting. Okay, so, well, I'm going to make a brief presentation, then we'll vote on the budget. Okay? So I'm going to quickly do that. And look, as I said, no one wants to let anybody go. Goldie, you've been up here 1,000 times telling us our taxes are too high. And when you see the numbers, I think you'll agree with me, we were presented with a very, very difficult choice. Well, that's not a, Goldie, you had your chance to speak, and now I'm going to speak. Ultimately, there's not one household in the United States of America that hasn't reduced its costs. There's not one corporation in the United States of America that hasn't reduced its costs. Citibank just let 10,000 people go. UBS, another thousands of people. Barclay, 2,000 people. This is not fun. This is where our economy is. So ultimately, as fiduciaries to the town, this is what we were presented with. Now, what you need to understand are a couple of things. Tom, you got this? Because I want to talk to the people at home as much as
Let me
anything
take
else.
the light here to give it,
Okay.
just to give him a better sense of
Right.
that's the right one. Does that work for you, Tom? Okay.
So, at the end of the day, again, there's no one on this town board who's looking forward to doing this. We haven't done it for 5 years. It wasn't addictive in any way. We worked with the town people, the town staff, and they responded very well for the last 5 years. But what we have to understand is, first and foremost, the town of Rye government is highly unusual. Non-tax revenues make up over 80% of our revenue base. No other municipality in Westchester County has that kind of mix. Generally, taxes account for 70-75% of the municipal property tax base. And then the other thing is our property tax. Now, the governor's told us not to increase taxes more than 2%. 2%. Well, if we increase taxes 2%, that's $6,500. $6,500, Goldie. How the heck are we going to pay for anything with $6,500? Greg, go to the next slide. Greg?
Yep.
Now, the last year of the previous administration, the non-tax revenues were $3.7 million. $3.7 million. In 2011, the last year for which we have audited numbers, there were $2.3 million. That's a $1.4 million shortfall. In a budget, that's $3.1 million. What else? Every municipality in all of New York State is fighting the same thing. Again, the county just let go of 25 people. What's worse is $300,000 in costs, pension costs, health costs, additional costs over which we have zero control. No control. So we have a $1.4 million plus $1.7 million adverse turnaround since we've taken over, since we've taken office. $1.7 million. That's 52% of budgeted revenues this year. Over 52%. Now, how the heck do you expect me to address a $1.7 million problem with $6,500? It's not, that's just not standable. Next slide, Greg. So we had to make some tough decisions. If you look at our last budget, it's $3.5 million. We had to take out $450,000 in expenses. Now, again, the great bulk of the town's expenses are personnel. The only way to do it was to let go of 7 full-time people. There's no way we could do it otherwise. And oh, by the way, we're still using $350,000 of our rainy day money. We're still using $350,000 of fund balance. So at the end of the day, we're still not there. I'm here to tell you we're still not there. We're still going to have to continue to reduce costs and find ways to work intelligently and as efficiently as possible to reduce those costs. So ultimately, we had to reduce expenses by $450,000. The only way to do it was to get rid of 7 full-time positions, and we're still taking $350,000 from the fund balance, rainy day monies. Okay, Greg? So we still need to work hard in 2013. We still need to cut costs on a sustainable basis. We're expecting our fund balance will finish the year about $1.6 million, but only about $400,000 of that is unmitigated, correct? So basically, we're using a lot of our unmitigated fund balance this year. We had to anticipate. We couldn't wait to, like every other municipality, to sit there till next year and find ourselves in an absolutely horrific position. I'm not going to have Town of Rye intervened by New York State. Everybody on this board is a good fiduciary. So ultimately, we had to begin, and we're going to continue to reduce costs. I've met with every town department head yesterday. Every department head, every department head made a commitment to work harder with the people we have, to do more with less. Every department head decided to do that. We're going to try to take 10% out, at least every one of our budgets. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to look to sell town assets on a one-off basis. That generates one-off income, but hopefully that'll restore some of the fund balance. So we have the Pearl Street parking lot, we have the pier in Mamaroneck, we have the garage, and eventually Town Hall. Maybe it makes sense to sell this building. Maybe it makes sense to sell this building and rent property someplace else. Because I'm committed to reducing taxes. Our tax burden is unsustainable. There's absolutely no way. Now, some people came up to me, Joe, it's only $30, $40. I'm prepared to pay the extra $40. Well, you know what? No. The county people say, well, your tax burden's only 20%. County only counts for 20%, so don't worry about county. The municipal village officials say, well, the village tax is only 20% of your burden. Don't worry about the village. It's all down to the schools. Well, no, it's all down to all of us. All of us. Every municipal official has a fiduciary responsibility. And this board has taken a very clear view. We were unanimous in all these decisions. We had to make tough decisions. None of these we liked. Talk about a difficult decision at the worst time of the year. Nobody wanted to make this decision. But unfortunately, we had no choice. Is it less likely? So ultimately, those are the numbers. We're down 40%. 40%. There's no way we could sustain the town of Rye with the employment level we had. Now, and we could just turn the lights back on and we can bring the board back. But ultimately, why were we able to do this? Everything we've done for the last 4 years has been intended to make the town more efficient. So if we look at Mr. Becker's office, taxpayers can now pay their taxes online. He's automated his office. He's introduced lockbox procedures, and he can talk some more about that when he comes up this evening, but ultimately he made his office much more efficient. The town clerk has made her office more efficient. In the assessment office, we brought in vision appraisal 2 years ago to support the assessment staff. And they've done a terrific job. In fact, we're now doing physical inspections of the properties. But we've automated the systems, improved the systems. And in the parks, we brought in Greenway a year and a half ago, or a little more, a year and a half ago. And they proved to be terrific. They've done a terrific job. So I'm very hopeful you're wrong, Mr. Servey, and that we are able to save costs. We're going to fight like the Dickens to do it. So far, they provided a good service at a reasonable price. So the hard work we did over the last several years to put in place a outsourcing and these kinds of things enabled us to make this very difficult decision. There were tough decisions. I can't thank the employees enough for all the hard work. No one up here takes any pleasure in what happened, but ultimately we had a choice. And if we didn't do this, we would have had to increase this between 200% and 300%. The choice, our tax burden is so low at $350,000 or $314,000. We would have had to double or triple taxes to offset that $450,000. And that's not something anybody in this board was prepared to do. So we're in a difficult situation. We're not doing anything different than any family in America hasn't done. We're not doing anything that's any different than any corporate entity in America, and quite frankly, municipalities across the state. This is a close-knit community. I know a lot of people know to let the people go. We tried to be as humane as possible. We are offering them, some compensation, to try and lessen the pain. But ultimately, these were tough decisions. We let them go the same day that we told them so that they could start to look for new work. Now, look, could we have, given them heads up and all that? It was a difficult decision. We ultimately made the decision not to, because basically you had so many people, we couldn't afford to let it go out and have town operations suffer. So, it's a tough decision. I know everybody in the board shares my view that we want to thank the people for their hard work over a number of years. And ultimately, the budget constraints put us in a situation where we had to make a tough choice, and we did. But no one takes any pleasure whatsoever in doing this. And let me open up. I don't know if anybody from the town board wanted to add anything to what we've talked about tonight.
No comment. I think you said it all, Joe.
All right. Well, with that, can I get a motion to approve a very...
We have to start with Resolution A, which is actually the abolishing of the positions effective January 1st.
Okay, sorry.
Hope, I think if you could just state that the following positions will be abolished as of the 1st. That's a park foreman...
Why don't you read it out, the resolution, Mr. Noto?
Okay, whereas in the interest of achieving cost savings through staff reductions and streamlining and consolidating services, the town board of the town of Rye has evaluated each department. Whereas the town is seeking to reduce costs and save money, and whereas pursuant to said evaluations, the town board has determined the following positions shall be eliminated effective January 1st, 2013. Position of park foreman, assistant park foreman, park attendant, full-time intermediate clerk in the office of the tax receiver, full-time real property appraiser in the office of the town assessor, full-time intermediate clerk in the office of the town assessor, deputy town clerk, and shall be no longer full-time, will be part-time, and the full-time intermediate account clerk in the office of the clerk, all to be abolished effective January 1st, 2013.
Can I get a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, second resolution B then is on the budget.
Okay, just wants to briefly read that as well, since these are important.
Are you feeling better, Hope? You want me to read it? I'll read it. I know you're not feeling well. I'll do it.
No, you go ahead.
Well, you're not feeling well, so I'll do it. When I don't feel well, then you can do my stuff. Okay, whereas the tentative budget of the town of Rye for the year 2013 has been prepared and filed with the town clerk on October 29, 2012. Whereas the town clerk presented the tentative budget to the town board at a special meeting held on November 7, 2012. Whereas a public hearing on said budget was held on November 20, 2012, and continued on December 18, 2012. Therefore, be it resolved that the preliminary budget as completed and amended by the town board be and it hereby is adopted as the budget of the town of Rye for fiscal year 2013. Be it further resolved that there be levied, assessed, and collected upon the taxable property in the town of Rye at large and the several parcels of property and persons within such town, the several amounts set forth, and be it further resolved that there be levied, assessed, and collected upon the taxable property in the districts of the town of Rye, known as the village of Portchester, the village of Rybrook, and part of the incorporated village of Mamaroneck, known as Rye Neck, and the several parcels of property and persons within such portion of the town of Rye, the several amounts set forth.
I had a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So the budget for this year then is approved. And again, thank you, town board, for your hard work on this, and making a difficult decision. Are there presentations to be made tonight? We want a presentation of the town dissolution? Is that where I got presentations? They're up next. Is the town dissolution presentation?
Well, I think you
I'm sorry,
should
yeah, there is an
add
additional,
those,
yeah, there's an additional resolution that we added to the agenda.
Oh, sorry. As
You have it in front
part of this?
Yeah, well, it's the third.
Okay, yep.
I'll call it C. It was
Yep.
just a late addition. This is on the severance, whereas the town has abolished 8 positions, and the town board is prepared to authorize severance to the affected employees based upon time of service. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board authorizes the town supervisor, Joseph Carvin, to execute an agreement and general release with each impacted employee to offer severance in an amount not to exceed 8 weeks of service on the condition that each employee who receives severance shall execute an agreement and general release with the town of Rye. Therefore, be it resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute said agreement with each impacted employee authorizing severance in an amount not less than 4 weeks and up to a maximum of 8 weeks based upon years of service with the town of Rye.
Any questions, comments on that resolution?
No, I think that obviously this severance package is obviously important as part of the process, and ultimately it's customary but also appropriate. So I would make a vote in favor. A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have other resolutions, but those are more in the formal part of the meeting. Is there anything associated with the budget? Any further things with the budget, Mr. Noto?
Nope.
Okay, good. Okay, well, look, I'll make a brief presentation on the town dissolution. We said we're going to talk about it tonight, and we also said we'd take comments from the public on the town dissolution. So we're going to allow people to make comments on the town dissolution this evening. We want to get that conversation going. If I'm honest, I was hoping we wouldn't have to make these tough decisions, and the process would have been further along. One of the things we learned in the town dissolution process, even if it were to go forward, it's still going to take another couple of years. So you know what, we'll take comments from the public on the town dissolution process first. Go ahead, Goldie, did you want to come up? This is on town dissolution now. Only on town dissolution.
I'm not happy with town dissolution.
Okay.
You are a historic town, and we have to keep you alive. I'm a historian for the area, and we've always honored Rye Town, because Rye Town was it. It was the beginnings. We didn't have Portchester, we didn't have Rye Brook, we didn't have any of the others, because you were the top of us. Okay? And we're not happy with the dissolution. We're not happy with you selling the town hall or the parking lot or any of that. Not here in Portchester. But I also want to remind you, please, Oakland Beach is very important, and if you dissolve, excuse me, what's going to happen to the children and the people of Portchester who have no beach? And we use Oakland Beach. We use Oakland Beach. What's going to happen? You're going to give that beach to somebody else, and they're going to raise our taxes, or they're going to raise the way we have to go there? We can't. We have to have that beach, and you're the ones that help us to use that beach. We can't have dissolution of Rye Town and have Oakland Beach go to someplace else that will raise us in parking fees and in using the beach, or maybe keep us out and just keep their people in. I don't think that's fair. And you have to represent Portchester, the poorest community who needs you. Who needs you? This is not an elitist community, but we need Rye Town. You've been here for years and years and years off the tax rolls. Did we say anything about it? No, we didn't, because you are important. So please don't talk about a dissolution. We can't have that. We can't have that. We can't have you selling Rye Town Hall. We can't have you selling the parking lot. Not in the village of Portchester. Please, Don't talk about renting other places where they may raise your rent, raise your rent, raise your rent, and that will raise our taxes. Please, stay here. That's where you belong. You belong here, stay here.
Thank you, Goldie. Just one clarification. Portchester's access to Oakland Beach would not change with the dissolution of the town of Rye.
Yeah, but if you don't if you're going to sell Oakland Beach or do...
No, we're not selling Oakland Beach.
Okay.
So there'd be no change. We'll go through the presentation, but there'd be no change.
That's very important because if you're going to dissolve, what's going to happen to Oakland Beach?
I guess there's two clarifications I can make right now. First of all, the people of Portchester would have to vote for the dissolution. If the people of Portchester, Goldie, I'm just answering your questions. There's no way the town would dissolve without Portchester voting for it. Portchester would have to vote for it separately. So if Portchester agrees with you, Goldie, the town would not dissolve. In the event Portchester doesn't agree with you, the people's access in Portchester, Oakland Beach would not change. Any other comments from the public? Please, Peter.
I'd like to agree with Goldie against the dissolution, although not for the same reasons. If we're interested in cutting costs, I think, and you well know, the best way would be if we reconstituted the town of Rye, and it included all the parts that were part of it. In the real world, that's not going to happen. The city of Rye does not want to be part of the town of Rye, and the village of Rybrook, I know they don't want to join us again, and the village of Rybrook does not want to be part of the village of Portchester. So given those realities, and given the weird geographical arrangement that now leaves us with, what do? So any effort, it seems to be more than it's worth, more than we're going to gain. The gains are pretty small, and now you're saying it may take 2 years, and who knows how much money that means to accomplish it. In order to do it, we're going to have to set up new Mickey Mouse arrangements to replace the current Mickey Mouse arrangements. Because even if Crawford Park is still open to the residents of Portchester officially, it will be part of Rybrook. And then we'll have to come up with some kind of arrangement on who's going to pay for the maintenance of it. Are we going to set up another Rye Town Park Commission? How is this all going to be arranged? Why would people in Ryeneck want to keep paying taxes to support Crawford Park? The consultant mentioned several times that you were paying for it now, you'll keep paying for it. Okay, that's fine, but a few years from now, people are going to be looking at their budget, just like you're doing right here, saying, why am I in Ryeneck, or now in the village of Mamaroneck, have a budget item to contribute to areas that I never go to? So these temporary arrangements now are just going to become more and more cumbersome as we go forward. If you want to give the park to Rybrook, or give a park to Rye, because that's where it's located, or give a bridge or a cemetery to wherever it's located, you can do that, and then that municipality will have the full responsibility for the maintenance going forward. But then that raises the access question. Will the people, especially in Portchester, still have access, or the same access they have now, to these sites that might be transferred over to the village, other villages or cities? So for me, it just seems like going through a lot of effort to achieve very little, and we're going to end up creating a lot of ad hoc organizations to try to deal with these cemeteries and bridges and parks. We already have an organization that can do that. So either reconstitute Rye, and let's have some real cost savings, or let's put the next 2 years to better use trying to make the town of Rye work better.
I'm sorry, your name is again?
Peter Feynman.
Oh, Peter Feynman. You look familiar. I forgot your name.
Yeah, I met you once during the campaign.
Right, now, you know, what you're talking about obviously makes the best sense. It's building that consensus,
Right.
And obviously the reports that I've gotten from the New York State Association of Towns, when dissolution first was talked about, probably about on a regular basis about 7 years ago, all came down to identity. and you saw how difficult, and I'm just piggybacking on what you're saying, you saw how difficult it was with the name change for the Portchester Public Library. So, and so, Peter,
Right.
thank you for your
Is there any doubt that if the village of Rybrook could afford to build its own library, it would do so?
Yeah,
It just can't right now, so it does piggyback. So, and even then, look, just adding that with identity, Rye Neck, as you point out, would be part of this new town of Mamaroneck, but it has its own school district. So it has a certain sense of identity as Rye Neck right now, separate from Mamaroneck. And that's another type of issue to raise. So I just don't see how much we're going to gain by going through 2 years of work. Given the strange, as you point out, we're very unusual. We're not probably like most municipalities that are trying to cut a layer of government. So I just don't see, given our political municipality reality and our geographical reality, that it really makes a lot of sense to spend a lot of time and effort on that rather than just making it work better what we have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Feynman. Any other comments from the public? All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a presentation, and then we'll take comments from the board, and then any additional, and then we'll even give the public another chance to comment. And hopefully I'll address some of the concerns and questions that were raised. But the thing I want to emphasize, most importantly, sorry, let me just wait till everybody. The thing I want to emphasize most importantly is the access question. Well, sorry. The thing I want to emphasize most importantly, you have a draft report right now. It's a draft report, and the whole goal is to take comments from the public. We had a first session where we got comments, and this whole question of access, park access came up, and very helpful comments, and we'll certainly address those in the final definitive report. I'm very confident that there'll be a real effort to make sure that access doesn't change. I guess that's the first point. But this is a draft report, so these comments are very much welcome and helpful. And then we'll pick this up again also in our January meeting. Tonight's really just an opportunity for the public to comment and then to have a discussion with the board, which we haven't had a chance to do yet. So I'll just briefly make a presentation. And then also you mentioned managing the town. Obviously, we're going to have to continue to manage the town come what may for the next 2 years. And I think you saw some of that tonight. Okay. So basically, we hired CGR. I can't remember what that CGR stands for, but they did an absolutely fantastic job. Center for Government Research. And ultimately did a fantastic job. I encourage everybody to read the report. The first thing we're trying to achieve here is the conversation. Now, I'm going to give my stump speech that the board has heard ad nauseum, but our tax dynamic is unsustainable. Goldie, I know you share that view. Our taxes are too high.
Yes.
And so ultimately, it's very clear to me that if we don't fundamentally restructure the way we govern ourselves, we will no longer be able to compete. New York State is the 50th in terms of a place to do business. 5-0, the worst in the nation. How can we possibly have New York City as the business center of the world? The business center of the world, and we're 50th in terms of a place to do business. Why? Our property taxes are too high. And it's unsustainable. We talk about jobs. Unless we make our government more efficient, our children will not be able to compete. They will lose jobs and their unemployment rate will go up. So we have to change. So the first goal here is to generate a conversation. The second thing, I'll anticipate the whole theme here is, of course, it would make more sense to recreate the town of Rye. And I would encourage our citizen groups to make those efforts. Okay? However, we have a political reality. The political reality, as you suggested, doesn't look like it allows for that. Now, so my goal is to approximate as much as possible the savings that would incur if we all merge into the town of Rye and retain home rule. So as much as possible, generate the economic savings by taking into account the political reality. That's the goal. That's Joe Carvin's goal in this whole exercise. So let's take a look at it. So look, if we were to dissolve the town, the village, you've seen this before for those of you who attended the last meeting, but the village of Portchester would become co